recording my very first video. I've got a camera, I've got a microphone, I've got some headsets, I've got a business, and I've got a story to tell. And I'm here to tell it. Whether you like it or not, you're going to hear it. Oi, gewalt, please stop already. Listen, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. You could be the first subscriber, you could be the first one to share it, and you could be the first one to like it. You might be the last one as well, but that's another story. So what am I here for? Well, I'm here because I want to get rich. Don't we all? Do we? Most people do. Others will say, no, I don't want to get rich, I just want to make a few quid. I was like that. I'm still trying. I've been trying for 12 years. I've actually been trying since I was 15. I've been thinking about trying, since I was about 10. And I'm still trying, and I'm still thinking about it. But here I am. What can I say? I'm one of these people that bounces around all over the place, trying this, trying that out, thinking about this, thinking about that, and I never really achieve anything. Oh, I kind of achieved something along the way, but I feel as if I've got the potential to fulfil, and I haven't fulfilled it, and so I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying because my nephew said I should. I said to him, "What can I do?" And he says, "Well, why don't you tell everybody about your eBay business? Tell them the story about how you started that. Tell them about how you've been doing it for 12 years already. Tell them how fed up you are of it." I'm not. I kind of love it. I do love it. I've got an eBay business. I've got the same business on Shopify. And I use a few tools, and it dawned on me that, this could be my thing. Like you said, go and tell everybody about that. So, share your story. Tell people what you did to get where you are and what you've done to, navigate certain problems and challenges. And you might inspire a few people to try the same thing. Or you might find ways of solving other people's problems that they might have with, the platforms. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who know the ins and outs of eBay and Amazon and Vinted and all those different platforms, inside out, back to front. I don't. I promise you I don't. I'm kind of hoping to learn something along the way myself. I'm hoping that a few people will watch what I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying, and hear the problems that I'm talking about, and they'll say, "Martin, this is what you've got to do. Try this. I tried it. This is what worked for me." And I will learn. I promise you I will learn from it, because whatever I know about my business, I learn from other people. And, a few sort of like trial and errors along the way. But I'm one of these people that once I've found something that works, I stick with it, because it's what works that counts. But the reality is that something could be better. I have to keep an open mind and, crush my ego about it and my pride and say, you might have been doing this for 7 years already, because it prevents you from experiencing this particular problem, but you could be doing something else that would eradicate several problems, and you're kind of living with a headache and you don't realise it. So I really am open to feedback and ideas and suggestions. But so who am I? My name's Martin. I've been selling on eBay now since 2011. Although I've had an eBay account since 2001 and 2011. Wow, that's 13, 14 years professionally selling on eBay for a living. I've had some good times and I've had some bad times, and I've got some, over the coming years, I'll share with you what it is that happened to me. And but basically, I found myself at a very loose end 12 years, 13 years ago. I was in a long-term relationship that came to an end. That kind of, when you're in a long-term relationship and it comes to an end, you're all sixes and sevens. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to turn. And you'd have certain habits and routines that you established, and all of a sudden they're not there. And that was difficult. But at the same time as that relationship came to an end, I resigned from my long-term work job. It was a good job, good money. I loved the people. It was great. But that also came to an end at the same time. I kind of walked away from that. Excuse me. I've been fressing on a few biscuits and it's a bit too much, Anyway, but at the same time as that, my mother passed away. And that was the thing that topped the lot off. Couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle the other two, losing the job. I mean, I couldn't hold the job down anyway because my mum died. And the previous relationship, the relationship that I was in up until that time, it kind of burnt its course. But it was painful, but it wasn't as painful as losing my mum. Excuse me, let me just pause that. I don't think you can. I think you've got to go with what the recording. Anyway, losing my mum was just too much for me. And I retreated to my bedroom for 2 years. Just sat in my bedroom for 2 years, smoking weed, cigarettes. Room stank. But I was emotionally, I was in a bit of a bad way. Um, I was doing some other routines alongside it, and I did do some walking. Walking helped an awful lot. If you ever hit, a low point in life, go and walk. It's good for your soul. It's good for your mind. It's good for your heart. But in this stupor that I was in, this rut, I knew one thing about it, and that was I just didn't want to work for anybody else. I just didn't think I had the temperament for it anymore. I think I was kind of burnt out. Uh, my skills, got plenty of skills, but my behavioural traits was, that of a business owner. I wanted to run the show, and I didn't want anyone telling me what to do. And if anybody did try to tell me what to do, I became quite sensitive. And so I knew I didn't want to work in a corporate environment again. I didn't like the constraints of the corporate environment. I didn't like the diversity programs that had emerged. I see that they've got a lot stricter and tougher. And, I found it a barrier to creativity. Um, Although they argued the contrary, but I didn't think that. I thought that it might have liberated certain people, but it basically restricted others. It certainly restricted me. I couldn't be myself, and so I abandoned that. I thought, no way, I'm not going back into that environment. And one day, sitting in the bedroom, not knowing what to do, I sold a Satnav. I put a Satnav. I took this Satnav. It was sitting on my desk. It was there for months, um, collecting dust, And it was a TomTom, and I put this TomTom on eBay, and it sold in about 10 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I had this eBay account since 2001 because I bought something in 2001 from America on eBay. I opened up the account to get a motivational tape by an American motivational speaker called Ziggler. I saw it for sale in an auction. I bid $20, and they accepted it. Well, I think I made an offer of $20. They accepted it, and to pay, I had to open up a PayPal account. I didn't know what PayPal was. I really didn't know. It was just like a suggested method of payment. I was bidding on this, not knowing how I was going to pay. It was all so new, And I bought this. I opened up this account. I put some money on it. They switched it into dollars, and they sent it to the seller, and the seller sent the tapes to me, and I got them within a week, and I could not believe it. Up until that particular point in my life, it was the kind of thing that you always dreamt of buying American merchandise products. You'd see somebody got something, been on holiday to America, they come out with a T-shirt or something. My sister came back from America with a load of denim jackets and that for me, and it was just cool. It was great, lovely stuff. And American products was like an aspirational thing. Anyway, these motivational tapes are the kind of tapes that you just couldn't get in the UK. So I felt as if I was getting something fairly unique. Um, Although the guy who made the tapes, a guy called Ziggler, he spoke like that with a real American twang. It was hard listening. I've still got the tapes actually somewhere. I must sell them. probably worth double what I paid. But anyway, I had this PayPal account on the back of it, and I didn't realise that I'd opened up a PayPal account. So when I sold this TomTom Satnav, somebody made an offer of £19. I put it on for 20 quid plus £6 package and postage. I didn't even know how I was going to send it to the customer. I just wanted to test it out and see what would happen. I mean, I was thinking of wrapping it in brown paper with string and a bit of red wax, because that's how I used to do it when I was a kid, you know. Anyway, I sent this. I received this offer for £19 from a woman in Brighton. I accepted the offer, and um, the next thing I knew is that the money went straight into this PayPal account that I'd set up several years earlier. I didn't even know I had. I'd forgotten I had it, and they were connected. They were connected together, you know, eBay and PayPal. And the money went into this account, and my mobile phone went ping, and I was amazed, and I was so excited by the whole prospect, because it basically meant that I didn't have to handle the money. I didn't even have to touch it, because up until that particular point, I didn't. How do you going to get the money? You're going to have to receive a check, and then go to the bank and pay it in. I didn't know. I mean, a bank transfer. I really didn't know. I really didn't have a clue. And the fact that it was all automated, that was a main barrier for me. That was overcome in an instant, and in that second, I knew what I was going to do for the rest of my life, or at least I hoped I knew what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So I basically went to the post office, sent this Satnav off, paid first class postage. I think that, and that was the other thing. You see, I'd budgeted £6. I'd accepted £1 less, so really I was only getting £5 for the postage, £20 for the Satnav, £5 for the postage. But the postage only cost me about £3. I thought, well, I've got an extra couple of quid, and because I didn't even know what the postage rates were. I was just not gambling, but speculating on what might happen. I thought, well, I didn't know. I said, let's just go and try and see what happened. I'm one of these people that can't really read things. I can read things, but it doesn't always go in, or I don't have the temperament to sit there for long periods of time and absorb all the information. And in those days, eBay's help pages were really, really poor. I mean, they're not poor now. They're much better and much more structured, but they're quite long. That's why these videos are quite helpful for a newbie. Somebody's quite happy to sit there with a cup of tea and listen to somebody like me rabbit on in the hope that they're going to learn something. And then I get it. You probably get me. We're birds of a feather. We flock together. So I knew what I was going to do at that particular point. And in my particular case, it was haberdashery. I was going to sell ribbon, because I used to work in a warehouse that sold it, and I'd fantasized over the years, like, about selling ribbon on eBay. Occasionally, I used to go on there, have a look, and search for ribbon. I said, well, yeah, people are selling it. Look, I didn't even, they were selling for like X pounds, but pound for a meter or something or whatever. And that seemed like good price, good money to me. Little did I know, it was poor money. But anyway, I went to the warehouse that I used to work at, or at least the people I knew who used to work with me in a warehouse had moved to another warehouse, and I went to see them. Everyone was very happy to see me, because they hadn't seen me for a few years, and they invited me, and I told them what I wanted to do, and I asked them if I could photograph everything that they had, and that I'd give them £1,000 as a deposit. I'd put the photographs on eBay, and when I got a sale, I would come to the warehouse, I would get the product in exchange for the money that they already had from me. So I'd just draw down £1,000 worth of product over a period of time. And they said, yeah, just come in, photograph everything, don't worry about the money. Because they also, it was early days for them. They still didn't understand what eBay or the internet was all about. They didn't have the skills. They were older than me. So I went down there and I photographed as much as I could in a short space of time, 2 weeks. Every afternoon I'd go home and start uploading these photographs. And one day, my very first day, I think I uploaded that many pictures, I overwhelmed the system. And in those days, because I hadn't read the help pages, I didn't know that you could you were only allowed to sell £100 worth of £100 worth of stock, I think, or £100 worth of sales, and 100 listings. But I managed to do 600 listings, overwhelmed the system, paid for all these listings only for them to all be cancelled. So I had to wait 3 months. But the listings that I managed to get on there, they were selling. And in the first month, well, it wasn't the first month, it was 2 weeks of the first month. It was sort of, I was in the middle of the month when I started listing. So I had 2 weeks worth, and if I remember correctly, I'd sold about £140 worth of stuff in that 2 weeks. The following month, it was 400 from the same listings, and the third month was 800, and I was amazed by it because it was going up, and I'd only managed to get 100 listings on, so I was kind of doing well, And I thought, wow, okay, once I've figured out my numbers and done all my numbers and everything, you think, oh, this is getting up to like £800 a month. You can live on it, you can't. When you take all the costs into account and everything, I wasn't really covering my costs. However, I was still working from a bedroom, and I thought the potential was there to earn a living from it. So I carried on. I mean, I wasn't signing on or anything, so I was at a leisurely pace. So I wasn't worried about the authorities because I wasn't breaking any rules or anything. I'd had a substantial sum of money in my bank account quite some time. That's what I was living off. That's why I couldn't sign on. My father was very irritated with me because I'd sat in the bedroom for 2 years just wasting my life away. And I really didn't want to tell him what I was doing because I didn't. But he was getting irritated with me going to the post box every afternoon at about 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock because I wasn't telling him what I was doing. And he saw me getting out the door with a carrier bag every day, and the carrier bag was getting bigger. I was coming back with an empty carrier bag, and he was driving. I'm sure when I was out of the house, he was going into my bedroom, my spare bedroom, and having a look around, go, what the hell is going on here? And that kind of thing. Anyway, months, eventually I got to the point where the spare bedroom was maxed out with gear, and I was tiptoeing around things. I couldn't move, and I was doing about £3,000 a month. Well, based on those numbers, based on the percentage margins that I was working on at the time, I was making about 20 quid a day, selling, a bit of this, bit of that. But it was a regular, consistent 20 quid a day, and I thought that's nowhere near what I used to earn, but it meant that I could move towards something else, And I thought it was a business, and I was building a business, and the sales kept going up, and then eventually I was on 8,000 a month, then not 12, and then it was regularly 15, 16 a month, and then eventually got as high as 20,000 a month, and it was great. And I worked on the principle at the time that all I needed was to look at the ratio between sales and the number of listings. And I worked on the principle that every listing was producing £20 a month. So if I doubled the number of listings, I'd double the sales. So I ended up with currently about 1,200 listings. And when I was doing about 600 listings, I was doing about 20 grand a month. Now we're nowhere near that. The marketplace has completely changed. It's basically eBay's. I think the first change began when Google turned around to eBay and said you've got to pay for advertising. All those listings that were coming up in the search results, you've got to start paying for them. And that sort of opened up the gates for promotional listings, and eBay was seeking a bigger share of the wallet because I think that's when they probably started to lose market share. And the algorithm that they had, they started tweaking it. Cassini, they call it. They started tweaking the Cassini algorithm. And eventually my sales sort of like, they reached a plateau. They weren't really going anywhere. I got a lot of legacy problems from certain listings I'd bought that I'd never sold and what have you. I'm still living with those legacy problems. I'm just trying to sell them off and get rid of the products and simplify my business and what have you. But somewhere along the line, I think about 7 or 8 years ago, I opened up a shop because that was the natural progress. Your own web shop. I went with a company called Creator at the time. They're still around. that were okay. But Shopify came along and everyone was going on about Shopify, and there were certain aspects of Shopify that were appealing. So I jumped ship and I went to Shopify. But I've since discovered that there's maybe about 3 or 4 limitations with that service. But I can overcome them with apps. You can buy apps in a marketplace that bolt onto Shopify that overcome the problems that they exist. But I'm not. I'm living with the problems basically because I'm getting to the point where I'm hoping that others will enter the marketplace and put pressure on Shopify to either offer it for free of charge, or if there are others alternatives that do offer it, including the price, then I'll go to them. And the one rival is a company called Wix, and they're catching up. And there's certain advantages with Wix over Shopify, and so I will consider going with them at some point. But in the meantime, I've got what I've got, and what I've got at the moment is I've got a warehouse, a small warehouse. It's Birmingham. It's owned by the Birmingham City Council. I rent it. My father's, as you can see behind me, he's got this industrial thing going on there. He put the scaffolding up for me, created a bit of a mezzanine. So I've got stuff upstairs. You can see the stairs behind me, just over there. It's a ladder. I nip up there when I need to get something. But it enabled me to put another 2/3 of products, or maybe half again, products, listings and so on. And I've been here ever since. And recently I acquired this cutting table, sturdy cotton table. It's what I work on. I don't know if you heard that. That was a sale. And that was a sale on Etsy, I think. I'm also on Etsy as well. But what I've created is quite a laborious, labour-intensive business, and my sales are half of what they used to be on eBay because of a number of things, a number of factors, but the main one was to do with VAT. I've been registered for VAT for several years, but about 2 years ago, eBay wrote to me and others telling me to put my VAT number in the account. And I said, well, it's in there. So I rang them up. I told them it's in the account. It's there. Can you see it? And the staff will go, yeah, don't worry about it. I think this is a glitch. I said, okay. She said, ignore the letter. I said, okay. So 2 days later, I got the same email from eBay telling me to put it in. And I thought, what the hell's going on here? Yeah. Rang them up, told them about it, and they said, yeah, ever so sorry about that. It's a glitch. Don't worry about it. I can see that you've got the VAT number in there. Don't worry. This went on for about 4 or 5 days, and every time I received this letter, this email, it kept telling me that if I hadn't put it in there by a particular date, they were going to restrict my trading. So I waited. Well, I didn't wait for anything. I just thought it had been solved because the telephone staff kept telling me, don't worry about it. But one Friday afternoon, about 5 o'clock, all my listings were cancelled, just like that, gone. Next day, 0 sales, literally 0 sales, because there was nothing listed. I panicked and I relisted the whole 900 listings I think I had then. Nothing happened. A couple of sales here and there. I was quite distressed. Got on the phone to eBay, what's going on? What have you done this for? And then, of course, the telephone staff don't know. They don't know why, what's going on. Turns out there were several hundred other people that were in the same boat. That I think they thought they were in the right. But the reality is, eventually they dawned on them that we all had our VAT number in there, in the system. But the damage was done. They'd ruined me overnight. So I had to go and get a job. I worked for Pertem for 3 weeks driving, and then eventually I did a job working for National Express as a minibus driver. That was part time. It fitted very well with this business because I could do the two. But sadly that came to an end. But it kind of, as that was coming to an end, my sales, they took the trading restriction off because it was only a temporary one for about 7 or 8 months. I didn't know that. Because every time I phoned through to try and resolve the matter, the staff wouldn't say or confirm that there was a trading restriction. But there was a trading restriction. Eventually they wrote to me to tell me they've lifted it. Sales started coming back. But by then, I'd got 1,200 listings, multi-variation listings, and I look back on what I used to achieve. I used to do regularly 15, 16,000 pound a month with half the listings than what I've got now. So something's changed, and I see that there's a lot of vocal sellers out in Facebook and the Facebook groups, but they are a different kind of seller to me. Most of the sellers that I see are resellers. Um, Resellers are quite happy to talk about what they've bought and what they've got because they're very rare one-off items. But are other people who sell what I sell, not what I sell, but the approach that they embrace, they're reluctant to share what they do because they buy from UK wholesalers and it's easily replicable. So they're not going to tell you that they've got a good line because everyone else will go and buy it, But it doesn't really matter. The market's that big and it can deal with that many sellers, But I sell haberdashery, cottons, needles, lace, and elastic for your knickers. That's what we used to say 20 years ago, 30, no, 40 years ago on the markets. You can't say that now. But anyway, I opened up a Shopify store, and I use an app called InkFrog. It's one of many to create listings via this portal called InkFrog. And it allows me to create a listing and to push it onto eBay and to push it onto my Shopify store and to manage the inventory. So once sells on Shopify, it will remove it from eBay and so on. But really, the central source is InkFrog. I'm going to tell you about that as I go and how I find it. There are others out there. But the ultimate app would be an app that would allow me to actually sell on all the platforms. And there is an app inside Shopify called, I can't remember what it's called, I investigated it a couple of weeks ago, but sadly it can't deal with multi-variations. So if I had one product, a bottle of aftershave, cheap one from Lidl, 6 or 7 quid, does the job though. 6 or 7, one bottle, right? I can put it inside Shopify. It'll allow me to push it onto Etsy, Amazon, and on eBay, and I think one or two others, provided there's only one bottle, or two, or three, or four. But if I have like a full bottle, a twice the size bottle, and a half the size bottle, it can't accommodate that as a variation. So that I can't really use it. But if I simplified my business and went down that route where I just sold everything off in singles, then it would be a good little number for me to use. However, the economy is what it is. I've got to make do with what I've got. I've got eBay to talk about experience and knowledge that I've acquired that I can share. Same with InkFrog, same with Shopify. And I've got aspirational ideas, certain little pet projects that I want to try to actually make some money. I've toyed with the idea of buying products from the likes of Marks and Spencers, which have them, and selling them on eBay. And I haven't sold them on eBay, but I've gone and bought stuff. They're hanging upstairs. I've bought Vinted, and I've bought a load of shoes, and they're upstairs as well. I bought books. I bought lots of second-hand stuff, basically, to try and set up a reselling side of my business. Not on the same store, but different store. But sadly, it's all about time. Time and space is the big challenge with this business, with eBay. But if you are scratching around for something to do, indeed, if you're looking to actually earn a little bit of extra money, I know if I was going to start all over again, I would certainly go down the reselling route because there's plenty of opportunity in that area. But when you start to build your inventory and acquire the stock, then you need a place to store it. Then your costs start going up. Every one of us experience the same problems regardless of whether you're selling stuff that you're buying from a warehouse or if you're buying it from a jumble sale or a car boot to sell on eBay. You need capital, you need time, and you need space, and you need a little bit of luck as well along the way. And the problem with it is it's time consuming, like anything in life, and you haven't got much time. If you haven't got infinite amount of time, eventually the time runs out, you know. So hopefully you realise this and you want to learn. What's this? Your file history drive was disconnected for too long. Reconnect it and then tap on the click to keep saving copies of your files. What's that about? I don't understand that. Anyway, I have to cut that bit out. Anyway, I've got a few other ideas. I've got an embroidery machine. I want to actually do some embroidery and make products and sell them. But ultimately, the opportunity there is to actually sell the digital files, because if you've got a dozen, 2 dozen, 200 dozen digital files that are in demand, all you have to do is make them available on the likes of an Etsy or an eBay shop, and people will buy them and they can download the actual digital file directly onto their hard drive. That's the way, directly onto their hard drive, and then they basically they pay you, and you haven't got to pick, pack, or dispatch any kind of product. So to me, that's quite a passive income. That is, it's buying and selling on eBay, the platforms in a retail fashion, isn't passive income. It's passive selling. You've still got to basically pick, pack, and dispatch. You've got a source. You've got to deal with customer complaints and issues and eBay and all that kind of thing. So there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. It's not that sexy. It's not as good as you think it is. Although the one thing that vast majority of us all agree with is that you are your own person. You don't work for anybody. Although sometimes it feels as if you're working for eBay. But ultimately, you are independent and you can work whenever you want, really. Listen, it's 32 minutes. I'm going to cut a few things out. So let's hope for this will be my intro, so you get to see what I'm about. I'll come back and I'll tell you a bit more about what I'm doing, and you can basically, I'll make videos that are subject specific, and I'll stick to the knitting, and I won't just be so random. Okay, thank you, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.